The most common mistake that gets both beginners and more advanced calisthenic trainees injured is skipping important foundational work that might not seem that flashy or impactful. Things such as basic rows and push-up progressions, and jumping ahead to the more cool exercises such as pull-ups, dips, and handstand push-ups. So here's the problem with this approach. Even if you can do a few reps of these more advanced exercises, hammering your body solely with such low rep ranges might lead to some short-term progress, but this all comes at the cost of more premature and stubborn plateaus and, of course, injury later on. If you're wondering why that is the case, simply said, skipping the basics early on only means that you'll be lacking a lot of other important things later on. Things such as adequate shoulder stability, grip endurance, but also joint and connective tissue adaptations, which will play a very important and protective role against the more advanced exercises that place higher stress on your body. So what I'm saying through my long rant is that if you've been, for example, stuck doing sets of 2 to 4, probably questionable form pull-ups, and you've also started to experience some elbow or shoulder pain, this is probably the reason why. If you think about it, it's kind of like stepping into a gym and trying to pull or push your body weight on the lat machine or the bench press, forcing the weight at the cost of excessive strain on your body. Obviously, no one starts that way. Instead, you start with lighter loads, higher reps, and proper form. This way, conditioning your body to handle greater loads safer in the future. This is basically the cornerstone of strength training, also known as progressive overload, and the same, of course, applies to calisthenics. Now, you're probably wondering, okay, Anthony, how do I adjust the weight when I'm training bodyweight, right? But the answer to that is simple. You just scale the intensity gradually by finding the right progressions for you. For instance, let's say that you're a beginner who can do anywhere between 1 to 4 pull-ups. Instead of, again, hammering your body solely with low rep range sets of 1 to 2 to 3 pull-ups, what you want to do is, first of all, build a foundation with higher rep sets, doing exercises such as rows and leg-assisted pull-ups. Especially if you're not in your 20s anymore, you just have to respect the fact that your body needs time to adjust. By the way, welcome to the channel if you're new here. I am Anthony Arvanitakis, creator of Bodyweight Muscle, and before we move on to mistake number 2, just a very quick announcement. After working on this project alone for over a decade now, I am thrilled to officially introduce a new face that you'll be seeing more often. That is Coach John Vulgaridis. Coach John and I have been working together for over 1.5 years, helping busy dads like you get in great shape with calisthenics through our program, the Dad Bod Demolition Project. If you're already on our newsletter list, then you probably already are familiar with Coach John, who has officially taken the reins of all of Bodyweight Muscle's written content, including a brand new upcoming blog. So if you're looking for extra tips and daily motivation to get in your best shape, even if you're a busy guy or busy dad, make sure you sign up to our newsletter list, link below. And that being said, let's move on to today's mistake number 2 and advice on how to overcome that, which I actually stole from Coach John. The second biggest mistake that leads to injury from calisthenics is thinking that you don't need to warm up that much because you're just doing bodyweight stuff. But just because calisthenics is probably the best, safest, and most sustainable way to strength train, especially as you move past your 30s and 40s, this doesn't mean that you can just jump cold on a pull-up bar and start cranking out reps without this taking a toll on your body. Instead, what you want to do first before diving head-on to your main bodyweight exercises of the day is start with at least a few specialized warm-up sets. This is especially important when you are doing full bodyweight exercises, such as pull-ups or dips. So let's say, for example, that today your workout starts with chest dips. Instead of diving straight into those, what you want to do is, first of all, start with at least one set of high reps of an easier progression, such as leg-assisted dips. Lastly, if you've been on this channel for a while, you know by now that I'm a big believer in mastering the basics by focusing on a few key exercises that deliver the most results with the least amount of work possible. Yet this doesn't mean that you shouldn't make adjustments to these exercises across the week. So here are some tweaks that can make a big difference when it comes to avoiding overuse injuries. Number one is making small technical tweaks and variations that change the angle of repetitive strain on your joints while also working on different muscle fibers, which also helps with building more muscle. Number two, which we've kind of explained already, is varying your rep ranges by incorporating low, medium, and high reps, which besides preventing injuries, also helps you break plateaus. So let's say that you train pull-ups 3 times a week and you do those on a straight bar. For starters, I would recommend not doing the straight bar version of pull-ups more than once a week, since these do seem to cause shoulder problems in the long run for most people. Next, I would recommend switching to rings, or at least getting a pull-up bar that offers a neutral grip, plus also alternating these with bar chin-ups, or even better, my favorite variation, which are gymnastic ring chin-ups that you can also do weighted if you're a little bit more advanced. Lastly, you also want an easier variation that allows you a higher rep range, something such as band-assisted pull-ups or inverted jackknife pull-ups. All right, so final thoughts. I was just thinking about, how I got started in my late 20s with calisthenics and how much more often I would either get injured or flirt with injuries compared to nowadays that I'm almost 40, a few months away, and I basically almost never get injured. Not to jinx things, but this has made a big difference. Once I started to figure out all this, that was when my calisthenics routine not only became injury proof, but I also started to get my best results because I could simply, train all year round consistently. Plus, it was one of the things that, made me such a better coach. That was all for today. If you have a question, make sure you leave it below. I always do my best to get back to every single one of you. And if you're a busy guy or a busy dad interested in our coaching program, the Dadbot Demolition Project, make sure you fill in the application below, and I'll be getting back to you as soon as possible with more information. And until next time, keep on training.